This episode will be about updates and commentary with respect to Violet Grohl, the solo artist. And if you want to hear more, please stick around. This is all gas, no trash. My name's Adam. Welcome back to the program and welcome to a brand new episode. To start off, I'm not exactly sure how this episode is going to go. I think the overarching layout will probably be intro, and maybe there might be more timestamps if I get into a groove or start going down a rabbit hole. I might create individual timestamps for every subject that I bring up, but if I don't end up doing that, it'll ultimately be split down into intro and then talking about the music and lyric videos that she posted, because I haven't actually had the opportunity to listen to Applefish, which was one of the tracks that she released that coincided with THUM, which is the first song that I heard from Violet Grohl. So I want to get the opportunity to listen to it, talk about the lyric video that came out with it, in addition to the proper music video and lyric video that was posted for THUM as well. So that'll be the second half of the episode, but the nitty gritty stuff will be an intro. And as I stated previously, if I end up delving into topics that just go at length, I might have to create more timestamps. But anyways, that's the intro, I guess, or the intro rant. So I might actually have to make this a timestamp. Getting into the introduction of the episode itself, previously we had made two other episodes. The introductory episode where we talked about THUM, although we didn't actually have the opportunity to talk about Applefish because it wasn't one of the tracks that was able to be played on Bandcamp. And I think there was a lot of confusion for people to find the music. I had a lot of people telling me that they wanted to find out where they could listen to it, and I referred them to the Bandcamp website or profile for Violet Grohl. So at the moment, I'm under the impression that none of the music has been released on digital streaming platforms, which is a bold choice, but I think probably the right one for people wanting to pivot away from, or rather artists trying to pivot away or bands trying to pivot away from Spotify or just even digital streaming platforms in general, and trying to make as much money off of their own music as possible. And Bandcamp is that platform to do so. And, Violet Grohl already has the luxury of having a following, not only because of her father, but just people being genuinely interested in what kind of music she would be making as a solo artist. So, she's in a very good position to, make a career out of her music. And it sounds promising from what we've been able to hear. In addition, we had the song that was released not too long ago, which was about David Lynch and the LA Fires, called What's Heaven Without You, which was a dedication to both things I just mentioned, which was another episode that we had made. And, I appreciate people that are willing to be honest. I got some downvotes for that, and I'm very glad that happened, because I know that there are actual human beings that are listening to whatever I'm actually posting about music. So genuinely, I really appreciate people that had a negative reception or a negative perspective about the video I posted, which, for whatever reason, I don't exactly know why that was, but I appreciate it. I genuinely appreciate it. It's nice to know that there's human beings on the other side. So, anyways, we are here to talk not only about the music and lyric videos that have been posted on YouTube, but also to talk about some of the people involved with Violet Grohl's solo project. And I guess we're going to make this another topic, because this was already long enough to talk about this little section. So let's go ahead and get to the nitty gritty. If I had a name for this particular segment, I think I would call it It's a Small World. For the reason being that the music industry is a really small community. And if I had to give a particular example with respect to this project, Violet Grohl, one person that I looked into at the top of the credits for the music video for THUM, a person named Nicki Milan Houston, I go on her website to see her portfolio with some of the projects that she has worked with to, I guess, direct music videos, but she's also worked in commercials. Haven't looked into that portion. I was more concentrated on the music, but amongst the names that I saw, I was flabbergasted. I was floored to see names like Pearl and the Oysters, who are signed to Stone's Throw Records, who were previously part of Field Trip Records. And one, if we're talking about people that are in creative direction, there was a few names that came up in Pearl with respect to Pearl and the Oysters. David Gattell, who has worked with Jelly Haha, an artist that is rising out of the Los Angeles music scene, doing synth pop, signed to UTA, signed to Loyalty Management, and has been touring with bands like Polo and Pan, and I think played a couple shows with Magdalena Bay, they're both part of Loyalty Management. But the reason that I bring her up specifically is because between Jelly Haha and Pearl and the Oysters, we have David M. Gattell and also Taylor Nicholson, who is a set producer, if I'm not mistaken. That's her role. But we also have this other person, Nikki Milan Houston, who also works with Pearl and the Oysters. But we also have Kate Bollinger, who's like a folk artist that, man, okay, this is going to be kind of trippy, but further down the list, there is a country / like folk artist that I made an episode about previously, and I think her stage name currently is Haley Davis, but her real name is Haley Hotstetter. But within the portfolio for music, there is a music video for Will and Haley, which I think was her first project before she evolved into Lady Appletree and now being known as Haley Davis, right? So one of the fascinating things that I found out about Lady Appletree / Haley Davis was that Kate Bollinger had directed the music video for Lady Appletree, the song, but also the artist, formerly known as Lady Appletree, now known as Haley Davis. She directed the music video for Lady Appletree. So you have the connection between Haley Davis / Haley Hotstetter / Lady Appletree, between Kate Bollinger and her, Kate Bollinger having directed the music video for Haley Davis, but you also have the person, Nikki Milan Houston, who has worked on both projects for music videos, which I think is just like fascinating. That's how small the music world is. I don't know what it is about all the names that I just mentioned and Nikki Milan Houston being kind of the point of convergence for all those artists and bands. But if there was an opinion to be offered, I feel like creative directors are a way to funnel or filter what potential artists could break out. And I'm not sure if that's the case for Haley Davis, but even just mentioning the names that we have already just talked about between Kate Bollinger, Pearl and the Oysters, and now Haley Davis, like now you have your interest or curiosity piqued, right? And if I had to give a brief summary of what she sounds like, I think if you enjoy Wise Blood or even Kate Bollinger, somebody that's in like the country folk spectrum, you may enjoy her music. And she has, oh man, if you want to hear the full story about her, go check out that episode, and I think I'll end up listing it as one of the end cards at the end of this video. But she's gone through 3 different phases, 3 different names, and Haley Davis is the current one. But it seems like she's getting more into contemporary folk music as opposed to being like more on the countryside with elements of folk or folk music, excuse me. But ultimately to say that if you enjoy Wise Blood, Kate Bollinger, you may enjoy Haley Davis. And I think I posted, I'm not sure if I posted her set at the Zebulon where she performed a lot of new songs that I haven't heard before. 2 of them which have been released since her repackaging or whatever you want to call it, but there's one I'm looking out for, and I'll let you know what it is, because I think we're going to make an episode about it. But I have digressed so far away from Violet Grohl, but this is really to say, in grand scheme for this specific segment, that the music industry is a very small world, and perhaps even more so with creative directors that end up participating a lot in different projects. And particularly with Nikki Milan Houston, we already see that if you can go on her website and see how many bands she's worked with, and also seemingly works in television because she has a specific section for commercials. So I don't know. I think looking into creative directors is a fascinating thing to do, not only to potentially find breakout artists that creative directors are working with, but also to see how one person can reach so many different projects. But that'll be the end of this particular segment. I think we are going to pivot towards the music and lyric videos that have been posted to YouTube with respect to Violet Grohl. We transition over to discussing the music and lyric videos that have been posted on YouTube. And one name that I forgot to include in the people that Nikki Milan Houston had worked with includes Benet, the Canadian artist. And the reason that I bring this up is because, having heard Applefish for the first time through the lyric video, her voice, the softness of her voice reminds me a lot of Benet, and I think the song itself is pretty fantastic. I think it reminds me a lot of like Mazzy Star if there were, I guess, grungy or shoegazy elements. But as far as the visuals go, between both THUM and Applefish, the lyric videos, I wonder if there was a mutual creative decision between both Nikki Milan Houston and also Violet Grohl to go with this grayscale with like a brownish tint or beige tint. I don't know what color it is. Maybe I might be colorblind. I'm not even sure. But it reminds me of Man in the Box from Alice in Chains. If you check out the music video, you'll know what I'm talking about. But there's something comparable to that. And I feel like the creative direction for this project feels nostalgic to it's like a collage of the 90s, in my opinion, and the choice to make the videos themselves, the lyric videos, and even the music video for THUM, to have them in a 4:3 aspect ratio. I mean, that's a callback to CRT televisions being built that way. And I guess the other things that I kind of looked into as far as the lyric videos go is there's a lot of shots that are around nature and stuff like that, but there's also the choice to have the footage be dropped down to like 12 frames as far as like the FPS or frames per second. I think that's half as much as what a cinematic movie is, which is like 23 or 24 frames. So that to me kind of alludes to Mazzy Star, because Mazzy Star kind of had a music video that was also like 12 or 13 frames, really slow shots. It almost looks like a slideshow, and Violet Grohl's lyric videos kind of feel that way. But you also have the choice to use like a typewriter font. I don't know if it's Courier or some other one, but it really emanates like a feeling of organic, or some kind of feeling of organic nature to it, both literally and metaphorically. And I think this is kind of like a meta move by both Violet Grohl and perhaps even Nikki Milan Houston to try to pivot away from high definition music videos with like 16:9 ratio, really sharp aesthetics. I think this is probably in alignment with maybe what artists are trying to do, which is not to come so clean or polished, because I think with AI being able to create music videos, people aren't able to discern what's real and what isn't. So the choice to go retro in a collage of ways, right? The comparison to Alice in Chains with Man in the Box, the grayscale with like a beige tint, using a typewriter font for the lyric videos, having nature, B shots in the background, and then having the music or the lyric videos in a 4:3 ratio, I think is a creative choice to make this project seem organic as possible, and even have it be a callback to the 90s and all the artists I already mentioned, Mazzy Star and Alice in Chains, and perhaps even more, or at least shit, man, was Queens of the Stone Age in the late 90s or early 2000s when they started? I don't even remember, but even like the choice in transitions to do like the cigarette burns or whatever they're called, the fade ins and fade outs, the way it's done is also, to me, indicative of the 90s. But let's go ahead and talk about THUM, the music video proper. So this is going to be a whole other segment, so I'm going to end it here. Well, at least for this particular segment about the lyric videos. All right, let's talk about THUM, the music video, which has a lot going in it. I think the choice to go, I mean, again, talking about like a tint, we had the beige tint in the lyric videos, and now we have like this yellowish tint. In my mind, creates nostalgia, especially with like the way the room is set up with the CRT television and the granular overlay on the video itself. It's got like film grain to it, so it doesn't come across as perfect. And it also has like the cigarette burns, the film burns, the transitions, and it's just, man, there's a lot in it, and it's very beautiful. And the choices for the set locations or the scene locations or whatever you call it, between the barn, the bedroom, and I think there's like this nebulous black void space. I couldn't think of another name for it, but I guess, like, it's an abstract space where she's like wearing a wedding dress and stuff. But just the color within it, the color grading, the choices in editing, the effects, man, it's just all very fucking brilliant, and it doesn't come across as like polished, I guess, in some way. I mean, it is edited and all kinds of crap are done to it, but it's all to give off the idea of being organic. And I guess the nostalgia factor, as well, as I previously stated about the music video, and even the bedroom kind of is a throwback to, decades past. But I just think the way this project has been presented, I mean, I thought the music obviously had potential. I mean, we already did an episode about THUM, but having seen the music in motion with the visuals, I'm like 100% sold. And whatever critiques I had about the songs previously are almost like invalidated, because now that you can see between the music and the visuals themselves, I'm like, oh, holy shit, man, this is fucking great. Like, this is brilliant. I mean, it's not just Violet Grohl herself. It's just the whole team that was able to accomplish this and bring out whatever creative ideas she had into the flesh. I know there's a lot of people, but I can't list all of them, because no, it's not that I can't, but it's just a lot of names. But I did obviously point out Nikki Milan Houston, but I know there's a lot of names that have probably worked on this project in order to make it as good as it possibly can be, both visually and in terms of the sound. But I just have to say, the way that things have turned out with the songs that have been released, in addition to the visuals between the lyric and music videos, this is just this is great stuff. And I was looking for an excuse not to like this when I heard THUM, and I just can't. Like, I just can't find a reason not to like this. I genuinely do. And I think a lot of you also feel the same way, that, you were wondering what somebody like Violet Grohl, what kind of music she'd be making. And, here we are talking about it. But there's one other thing I wanted to add about THUM that I didn't get to talk about previously. And it's been lingering in my head. I just want to get off my chest. But there's a few songs that remind me of THUM, or rather vice versa, that THUM reminds me of a few Queens of the Stone Age tracks, and particularly 3s and 7s. I think it's like the guitar work in guitar work in that track, with like the sliding guitars, but there's also the track from the album with like the pitchfork. I forget what it's called, but there's one specific track that comes to mind as far as like the tempo of the track, the way the drum kit sounds. That reminds me very much of Queens of the Stone Age. Let me see if I can find it real quickly. All right, I found it. It's You Think I Ain't Worth a Dollar, but I Feel Like a Millionaire. Between threes and sevens, the song I just said, and I guess Benet's voice, the Canadian artist, I feel like that's kind of the amalgamation of what Violet Grohl is doing. And also, let's throw in Mazzy Star, maybe even like Alice in Chains into the mix. This project is very fucking exciting, and we have 3 songs that have already been released. My current theory is that we'll get an EP, which is probably going to be about half of the album, which is, let's say the EP is going to be 6 songs. So we're going to have 3 additional songs. This is me speculating, but I think we're going to have 3 additional songs on an EP sometime around May or June. And then maybe we get a full-length album sometime in September, October, maybe even November. Let's say quarter 4. Let's say quarter 4, late quarter 3, we get a full-length album. But perhaps maybe it'll be sooner than that, because festival season is coming up and I imagine she would want to tour. So fuck, man, maybe we get an album at the end of March. It's one of 2 things. We get the album at the end of March to coincide with festival season from April all the way until, I guess, August or September, or we get the full-length album in late quarter 3 and the beginning of quarter 4. Those are my current theories, but man, I've already talked enough. This has been quite the lengthy episode, and I'm going to have a lot of fun adding the timestamps for this episode so that you can pick apart the pieces that you want to listen to, or maybe you listen to the whole thing in its entirety. But either way, I appreciate everybody that's listening, both liking and disliking, because I know you're real human beings. I appreciate you all being here. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you all next time.